Hello, good evening. Welcome to the March 19th meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission. It is 6:49 p.m. on Tuesday, March 19th, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. And just a couple housekeeping items. First is that pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. The recording of these proceedings can be accessed at any time using the registration link at the top of this agenda. And also just a reminder that the Historic Preservation Commission operates under its the adopted rules of policy and procedure. Included in this document are rules requiring that professional conduct be exhibited by the commission as well as by the public. To view a copy of these rules, please contact the city clerk's office where they're filed. And customarily, we also do our little introductions. So I'm going to go around my screen and ask people to just give a little intro, starting with Mr. Coughlin.
Hi, my name is Dan Coughlin, and I live in a historic district in a historic building.
Thank you. Mr. Falvey.
Hi, my name is Ryan Falvey. I'm a resident of Ward 2.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Kelly.
Hi, I'm Robin Kelly. I'm the Realtor member of the commission and also a historic homeowner in Union Square.
Thanks. And Mr. Shagnon.
I'm DJ Shagnon. I'm the landscape architect on the commission and a resident of Ward 5.
Thank you. And I'm Eric Parks, resident of Ward 3, historic homeowner and architect. And we have a member of the staff, Mr. Chekwich, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Wendy Chekwitz. I am a preservation planner with the Planning, Preservation, and Zoning Division.
Thank you. That's who we are. And there are other members of city staff who are attending invisibly as well.
Hi, I'll just say I'm Steve Carey, also with the Planning Division.
Thank you. Okay, so on the menu for tonight, we have two cases that are alterations to local historic districts, both of which were continued from the last hearing. And then we have public hearings for 3 determinations of historic significance. And we'll start off with the continued cases from the last meeting. And the first one is HP 23-000051, address is 57 Columbus Avenue. Applicant is David Bell and Monique Cole. The owners are the same as the applicant. And the applicant seeks a certificate of appropriateness to alter the exterior of an LHG property through the removal of existing exterior features and the installation of new exterior features. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, I have just promoted David Bell, and then Monique Cole will also be promoted to panelist.
Hi, good evening.
Give them 1 second to accept. Perfect.
Good evening.
Hi there. So welcome. Probably the best way to, if you could just give us a quick rundown, introduction to your project, what you're wanting to do.
We do also have with us our architect as well, who, if we could possibly have him also added, that would be very helpful.
His name is James Moses.
James Moses was just promoted to panelist.
So a brief rundown. I'll try to get things moving. We've done this twice now. This is the second attempt. The first attempt, we had problems with not problems with you guys, but problems with the pandemic and the builder. And we managed to get the garage refurbed, which was good. That itself was a long project because as soon as we got the garage finished, a massive tree from Prospect Hill Park fell across the garage and destroyed the garage again, which was, let's say, a bad situation. Then we got the garage rebuilt again. And by the time all this went through with the pandemic and everything, this project, obviously the permits expired. And so we've had to reapply essentially from the beginning with a few small alterations that Jim has helped us with in terms of architectural work. And so that's why we're here.
I actually have a brief presentation that I'd like to give, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Great. And Wendy, let me share my screen.
Yes, you should just have gotten that permission.
Great. It's helpful for me to talk to some visuals. So the list of proposed alterations and improvements is here. There's a mudroom addition that was part of a previous application. Windows and front door, also part of that previous application that David referred to. A new item, which is on the rear of the house, is a 2-story bay window. And frankly, we were hoping that although we do abut the Prospect Park, we were hoping that the fact that it's at a different elevation might offer some leniency on the rear of the house. We're proposing to replace the siding, replace the front stoop, replace the gutters, remove one of 2 chimneys, and add a dormer to accommodate a new bathroom on the 3rd floor of the house. So the mudroom addition, this is the existing condition. The project was started under that previous application, and then with the pandemic, it stopped. And David and Monique wanted to reassess the design of this and other things in the house, and that's when they engaged me. And what we came up with for the new design for the mudroom, same footprint, but to differentiate it from the original house, we're proposing vertical wood siding with 2-inch battens, so a kind of board and batten. It also has now a small roof deck, a picture window that looks into a 2-story kitchen dining room, and a glass entry door and a window into a bathroom. And this is the rear elevation of the mudroom. You can see a door which is coming off the 2nd floor, another glazed door, allowing access from a new study to the roof deck.
Jim, just before you move on, I should make a little note to the committee here that the house originally had a mudroom in that location. It was in very bad shape. It was actually collapsing. It was poured on a very poor sort of slab foundation. That actually what happened was when the previous builder went to basically check the foundation, it all collapsed. So we had to do an emergency pour on the back area to build back the foundation. So that's, the mudroom was originally on the house, just like the house next door has a similar deck area. The previous application was basically to rebuild the mudroom in its location, adding the new details. So just to clarify everything.
We'd like to replace the windows, with the exception of these 3 on this oriole bay, which the approach that was approved under the previous application was that these 3 windows, which are original, would be restored, but all of the other existing windows would be replaced. And we're proposing to use Marvin Ultimate 2/2 to match the original windows, but with double pane insulating glass and a simulated divided light with a spacer. More views of that window. We believe there may be some existing framing for a stained glass window, and if that's revealed during the course of construction, we'd like to look for a salvaged window that would fit. So that's our proposal for adding that window back. And then the existing front door, what was approved previously was a custom door to match this door, which is original to the house, but meeting current energy codes. And then we have actually two options on the 2-story bay. This was the option that was submitted, and the staff had some concerns about this design, that it diverged too much from the spirit of the Victorian house. So working with Wendy, we came up with an option B, which I think is much more in keeping, and so we'd like to consider both of these, or like you to consider both of these. And then on the siding, the existing siding is asbestos shingles, and there are some locations where those shingles have fallen off, and it reveals wood clapboards underneath. There are locations where those clapboards are missing, in addition to the asbestos shingles being missing. And what we would like to do is to replace both layers of siding with fiber cement clapboard siding. And this is actually being done at 12 Aldersea. And my understanding was that this was not approved by the board, but it appears that they've gone ahead with this. So,
well, that's not quite true. I mean, it was approved for some sections of 12 Aldersea, but not with others. But they've done it all over. Yeah.
Okay. And then the front stoop, it's deteriorating quite badly, and we're proposing to replace it with brick steps with granite treads and a wood landing. Oh, sorry, a brick and granite landing as well. And that's what's shown here. The gutters, we're planning to use this product, the Dura gutter. This was recommended by the staff, and we're happy to use this type of gutter. We'd like to remove the north chimney. This is the chimney on the rear, toward the rear. Internally there's no use for it in our proposed scheme, so we'd like to remove it. And this is an elevation showing that being removed. And then I think this is the last item, the dormer for the new bathroom. Okay.
All right. Thank you for showing us all that.
Sure.
So in the process, assuming you all are through for the moment, we usually switch to public comment before we
Sure.
take it up with the commission. And if that's the case, then we'll open it up for public comment.
Any members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand for a 2-minute public comment. Mr. Chairman, I'm going through the list right now. I don't see any hands raised, but I'm going to go through the list one more time. All right, Mr. Chairman, no hands are raised. You may close the public comment.
Okay, I'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. And as a commission, we can discuss, and I don't know what's the most expeditious way, if we should address each of the items in the proposal separately, or just kind of mull them over as one mass. It might be more straightforward if we can kind of go down the list and talk about each item so that we can kind of hash that out. If anybody has any other thoughts, otherwise, let me know. Pull up my screen again. So on the proposal, the mudroom addition, what was the design that was originally approved on that a few years ago?
Pretty much the design you've got, except for the balcony on the top, the little deck on the top.
But the siding has changed?
The siding was changed on the original design as well, on the prior approval as well. There was going to be different siding on that.
Okay. What was it going to be? Something more collaborative?
Say more what?
I just made up a word. What were you going to use for siding in your original proposal? That
I actually thought there was going to be wood siding or something like Jim's proposed, but I think it wasn't. From what I remember, I'm stretching I don't have the original proposal in front of me. I can find it. I have it somewhere.
I believe, David, it was an engineered product, because I think in that one
it was an
but I believe it was sort of a clabbered style, but it was an engineered product.
Yes.
okay.
Mr.
Well, I guess-
Chair, the 2012 approved plans that are in the packet that staff presented to us. I can't tell whether they appear to be the proposed elevations, because there are things labeled as new window and so forth, and the siding is all labeled as asphalt siding.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And that except for the mudroom, which actually wasn't asbestos covered originally, and the replacement was some sort of engineered product as well.
Right. Yeah, I think that's all the asphalt siding was, some form of engineered product at the time, but
yeah,
I don't remember the case from 2012. I was not particularly active then.
I remember the house, but I don't remember the details like that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's been one of the more one of the things that would stick out more, and the question for the commission is what folks think about a proposal that would have the mudroom in a very, very different approach like that.
So
I think the major concern is whether or not, I mean, I know that Mr. Moses suggested that they were doing the vertical battens to differentiate from the rest of the house. It being a local historic district, I think our preference would be that it wasn't differentiated from the rest of the house, and that it actually blended in with the rest of the house. So use a siding material that would be the same as what you're going to use on the rest of the house. I think that would be our preference. My understanding, it being in a local historic district.
yeah, it was funny, but I do remember the conversation from the previous historic commission meeting that approved that. And it was almost exactly the opposite suggestion. They wanted us to make it different so that it stood out. Just really odd.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the reason for that would be. With any of these projects, we are trying to keep the materials as close to the original as possible. So, things like the gutters being copper versus what they currently are or what they would have been. Things like that aren't what the commission typically likes to see. They like to see things sticking with the original structure. and the original materials.
Okay,
So that would be a surprise, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I can picture projects in general where there is room for contrast, such as the library and the West Somerville Library we've got. But I'm in agreement with Mr. Coggan here, where I think such a small element like that to be differentiated like that would look more like a wart or something. Like it wouldn't have a lot of purpose to that. People would say, why did you go and celebrate that thing that's sort of just sitting there, you know, a little shed off the side there. So I would be encouraging us to go also back to the guidelines, which would have that kind of, to the greatest extent possible, blend in with the building. Looked like it was a little appendage that might have happened 60 years ago or something.
Mhm.
Anybody else in the commission have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I guess I would say I appreciate, you know, in principle, there's sort of a different there's a principle of differentiating truly modern additions from the original structure through measures like this. But I mean, to a large extent, if I'm not mistaken, you're trying to recreate functionally and dimensionally the mudroom that had been there. So this feels less like an addition of a mudroom as much as it feels like a replacement of an incredibly structurally deficient mudroom. So I think I would agree with Mr. Coughlin and Chair Parks that yeah, that I think siding that matches into the rest of the project would feel a little bit better. I mean, I assume that if the colors all match, it won't stand out as strongly as it does in the rendering where the.
Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab the permit approval from last time just to double check what they said.
That would be great, yeah. So,
Okay. Get the next, sorry, I'm having a,
The next one is windows and doors. The
Mm.
next item is windows and doors.
so what are the existing windows elsewhere other than the 3 original ones?
None. That's a new.
A lot of vinyl.
Okay. So previously, obviously, it's what you're proposing is an upgrade of a vinyl on those windows, and the question
Correct.
really is just the 3 windows in the bay.
Mhm.
Yeah, the other existing windows, I think, don't even have muntins.
Okay. And you're proposing is it a Marvin, I see?
Yeah, Marvin Ultimate
Okay, with the true divided lights, I mean, the simulated divided lights.
simulated, yep, with a spacer.
I don't know how other people feel, but I am of the mind that where there's such a tiny number of windows left, that it might make more sense to have the building be a contiguous look. Sometimes we do that sort of thing when we have one facade, like say the street side had its original windows, we say, we'll keep those, you know, but I could certainly see arguments otherwise. What do you all think?
I mean, I feel like, so go ahead.
No, I agree. I think that because they're not historic windows that would be being replaced, that they're replacement windows already. I think new windows that are energy efficient makes sense. I'm not sure what, in terms of the color and the design, I'm not sure if that's something that we want to get into, but overall, I think that that's right to approve replacement windows.
I think we
Sorry-
do,
sorry,
since
DJ.
it's pre-finished,
fine.
we don't typically dictate paint color, but things that come pre-finished, we do. That's the one little distinction. So
Right.
do you have an idea of what finish you put up these, or is it in the package?
It's not in the proposal because our understanding was that you didn't dictate color.
Oh, well, yeah, it's,
We're buying a little time.
okay.
fair.
I mean, who has thoughts? Are you thinking generally dark, light, colored?
The
We
original
had a,
the original
think it
ones
was
are
original-
white, right?
yeah, I think in the prior proposal, I believe it was black on the outside.
Yeah, I've got the prior proposal. I've got the
Wonderful.
letter from the Christie Chase dated 26th of December, stamped by the city clerk. I also have the plans stamped by the Historic Commission. Just to show
Woo.
they're the real
Oh, yeah.
thing. The windows are replaced black with glass and battens, just like Jim's plans. And just getting back to that mudroom location that you discussed previously, it's really helpful in that it says new siding and color to match existing siding. That's all it's.
Okay.
Okay.
But no,
Or-
no material called out, or
Doesn't
and
call
no,
it- it doesn't
no
call out
orientation.
any- Doesn't call out any material, doesn't call out any orientation. I've been through the letter twice.
Well, existing would be asbestos, which would be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, when you said, didn't you just say new siding and color to match existing?
Yeah, so you're
Just-
right.
Just the color to match existing, I think, right?
Hang on. It just says new siding, the color to match existing siding. It doesn't specify the siding.
Okay, well, our intention was to have it blend, so we haven't gotten to the siding question yet, but if you end up replacing with the fiber cement, it sounds like that would be the one that would match for our previous desires.
And the leaded glass window on the west side was to be new fixed medallion stained glass window with insulated glass protection on the outside, approximately 2 by 2 foot in size.
Okay.
Window reviewed by HPC staff. Side window. Oh, yeah, okay, that's what it means. So yeah.
Okay. So the proposal is to repair the 3 windows in the bay, right? On the right elevation.
That's what was agreed to in the
Okay.
prior application.
And I think,
But I
and
think
given that those
Chairman
are-
Parks was suggesting that because there are only 3 and it's not a main elevation, that we might consider replacing those. Was I understanding that correctly?
Well, that was your proposal.
No.
Now that was our original
No,
proposal.
yeah. Right.
No, I thought that the proposal that you brought to us right now.
Now,
said-
has those as repaired and refurbished the original windows.
Okay,
Those
The 3
No.
remaining original windows.
yeah. Well, I'm not gonna argue with that. If you want to keep them, that's bet. I thought, I could swear I saw in your proposal that you wanted to replace those.
No.
You might have been on the original proposal. We wanted to replace them for energy efficiency. We would love to replace them because they would be so much better than repairing the windows. And also, you'd also get the blended look that the house all has the same windows. So,
Yeah.
So the applicant is open to replacing them. They're not
Yeah, I mean, I would, since your proposal was to restore them, I'd have a hard time overruling that. That's the default. That's the good thing to do. So I think that for me, I'm gonna go with your proposal. It'd be kind of silly to say no, replace them. If you wanted to make another sales pitch for that, you would come back to us at another meeting or something, but I think right now I'm gonna stick with that. And okay, so that's windows. And as far as the rest of the windows, I'm fine replacing vinyl with the Harvey.
I think the only other, the existing front door, I think, is also in the mix, and they're looking to replace it with one that really well matches the existing door, which sounds great to me.
Yeah, and that's still, not that we're obligated to comply with the previous 12-year-old thing, but
No, but
it's nice to at least view what your thoughts were. So
Yeah.
your proposal is to do more or less the same thing, have a new one made that matches that style.
Correct.
Okay.
there are a few differences that I notice before we get to the option A, option B on the back of the addition there. The large bay. There are a few differences in what's proposed for door and window openings compared to the original proposal that I noticed. Originally on the rear elevation where you have the new deck in the new one, there had been replacing a window in the existing opening and putting a new window to the left of it. And it looks like in the new rear elevation, that new window to the left has gone away, which is fine. It's a new opening. I mean, was nice that the original one was in keeping, but I'm not bothered by not putting an opening where there wasn't one. And you're converting the other opening to a door, is that right?
That's right.
Which makes sense to access the deck. Yeah. Because there's
Oh,
not
right.
a door coming out from whatever the addition is.
That's right.
So one thing that will need to be addressed, and if we're going with a design that keeps the existing siding, continues that across the mudroom, what DJ was saying is there's now a deck on top of that where there wasn't in the original proposal.
Yeah.
The design of those railings and things like that, because what's shown there is it's similarly contemporary along as the siding would have been. I imagine that wants to change. Or ought to change. And if so, do we need a new proposal for that, or are we trying to define it verbally?
Would this be something that we could work with the staff on, or what's the best way to
I think
approach it?
we could default to something like match the railing at the front steps, for example. We could do that also.
Oh, yeah.
Same kind of design, the balusters.
I think that feels appropriate to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so personally, in terms of the changes to the fenestration from the original proposal, and again, we're not bound by the original one, but I'm inclined to defer to the commission of 12 years ago in most respects, because it seems like it was well reasoned at the time. Generally, it's things like moving the exit door from the addition around the corner so that it's facing the right instead of the rear. That doesn't bother me.
Just as a matter of fact, the original exit door was to the right anyway, so.
Right.
So we.
Yeah, that would have been a change.
Yeah, so we have a temporary door at that location now, but that door would go away.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think going with where the original exit location was, well, feels good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels like in many ways the mudroom addition is going back closer to what it originally had been, but with the addition of the deck on top and some changes to the other proposed windows, and then the big changes to the rear elevation. Yeah. I don't know, does anyone have any further thoughts on the other windows or things? I don't want to monopolize the conversation here.
You mean the windows, the two options? That,
Well, we can get to the two options.
or just the other changes?
Just the other window changes all seemed simpler to discuss to me.
Yeah, nothing that I'm picking out seems too out of whack.
Yeah. Okay, then I guess we move to I will start to share my opinion on. I much prefer the look of option B in terms of keeping with the Victorian character of the house.
Yeah, I would agree. Scroll down to that.
I think it's a fairly nice solution for that, and I think it wouldn't. I know. The very tall windows give that sort of a solarium vibe off the back, but that wouldn't be out of character.
Sort of a Victorian conservatory.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're a little more monumental than you'd normally see in the back of a house, but
yeah,
I think it could be fine. And so just to talk about that facade a little bit, so you would carry through the same siding and trim, general kind of corner boards. What I'm seeing is flat trim.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
We anticipate we'll find some original trim under all the layers of stuff that's been added on top of the original sidings. So our intent is to match that.
And speaking of siding, that's item C in the list here, is I think generally an upgrade from asbestos siding to fiber cement, especially if you leave the smooth side out, to me is an upgrade.
Yeah.
And so I know once in a while we kind of go back and forth on wood versus fiber cement. Generally, it's hard to notice a difference if you're at any real distance there. But to me, it would be hard to say keep it. I mean, you're proposing something of equal or greater value to me.
And what is your feeling on you being, well, the rest of the commission? What are folks' feelings on the little bits of wood siding that have been visible underneath? I mean, my guess is it's pretty well deteriorated under there at this point.
You're talking about like
So under the
Eaves and-
asbestos clapboard, or under the asbestos shingles, there are some wood clapboards that are visible in some of their photos. But they've been, they've been hacked around the window openings, and who knows what's happened to them before they put the asbestos shingle over it. The staff report, points out that typically we would, retain and repair deteriorated material which matches as closely as possible. But I don't know how much wood clapboard is really left down there.
Can I just add that one of the reasons that we are proposing fiber cement as opposed to wood has to do with the proximity of neighbors and trying to find something non-combustible. In fact, one of the neighbors is, I think there's a building code distance that buildings on different properties are supposed to be apart, and we're closer to one side than that limit. So that seemed prudent to us to find something non-combustible to side the house with. I wouldn't be surprised if that's why the previous owner chose to reclad with asbestos.
Right.
We've supported fiber cement on numerous other applications in the past, and I think it looks really nice on so many of the applications I've seen, so many of the outcomes.
I think that's the important thing that we discussed. It makes it really easy then for us to finish the new mudroom exactly the same as the rest of the house. And
Right.
it would all blend in very nicely. I've seen, as we talked about one of the houses in Aldersey Street, that house originally had asbestos shingles exactly like this house had.
Right.
Same color, exactly everything, right? It looks a hell of a lot better now than it did before.
I agree.
And I think in this sort of conversation, this is the commission, there's the need to be consistent. And I think typically if someone just came to us and said, we're a wood clad house, we want to rip the clapboards off because we're tired of painting it, we'd be a little bit less accommodating than a situation like this where you are going from something that is not wood that we're seeing currently. In all likelihood, what you're going to see when you take that asbestos off is going to require quite a lot of patching, at least in my experience. But and I think those two factors make a decision to allow fiber cement easier. I would love it if people would get away from these pre-finished gray sand, the beige, the colors that, I mean, if people would paint it, but it's not our prerogative to insist that something get painted. Some of these pre-finished materials just get a little bit tiresome after a while.
No, we want to do the green just like Aldersey Street. It's going to look pretty much like the same finish that Aldersey Street has. So if you're happy with that one, you're going to be happier with ours.
Okay, so I think we're sort of reaching a consensus on the siding. trim, obviously, I would want to keep that trim, all the eaves and the soffits and all that detail work. That's
Yes.
going to be something that gets painted. And I assume that you've made an assessment that that's something that you can work with.
There are sections that have to be replaced because they're rotten, but they will be replaced with the matching wood, exactly.
Okay. Let's see, what else is on our little list of things that you're looking to do? Siding, the front portico, altar front portico on front facade. And let's talk about that for a second. Could you describe that again? You said it's the front steps and the landing?
Yeah, it's really only the landing and the steps. And currently there's a wood frame landing and the steps are CMU, that have been painted. Probably plastered and painted. It's deteriorating. And we were proposing brick and granite.
Flip a picture. We might need a little bit more clarity on that design. Let me see. Is there a drawing that I'm not seeing the package?
There should be.
The side elevation I see from the page 4.
Page 12 of the staff report. And
Oh,
page
yeah.
11 has a photo of the existing.
So where would be, what's existing is concrete steps with a wood landing?
Yes.
And what are the sides of the wood landing?
There's lattice of some kind.
Okay. Would you, so the landing itself would stay wood? You're just talking about the steps that would become brick and granite?
No, we were suggesting that the whole thing would be brick and granite.
I'm not sure how that would be on, I mean, that's the original thing, and I don't think there's a whole lot of precedent there for wood posts on brick landings.
Yeah.
What do you all think?
I mean, according to the staff report, this would all be wood. There would be a wood landing, wood steps, railings, columns, etc. So depends whether or not we want to go with what's historically would be historically accurate, or if we want to allow them to make this adjustment.
Yeah.
Those are the two options, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of lean towards the wood option on that. I get the durability of masonry and all that, but that to me is a fairly new thing to do to those. Since that is the front facade of the house, it's the most original in appearance.
Right. Granite treads, according to the staff report, would not have been accurate with the period.
Mhm.
So we don't have a drawing that shows that. What we could do is continue that portion of if it sounds like, well, at least two of us are feeling less inclined towards the masonry option. We don't have a graphic representation of any other option there.
Yeah.
I feel like just describing it verbally might be leaving a little bit too much to the imagination, and that perhaps we should have a drawing that shows that.
I mean, I think the only way we could describe it verbally would be to try, well, but we can't say come close to what's existing, because what's existing is somebody did CMU and parging stairs.
Right.
Which isn't great.
I mean, we could have them we can go through and have them use the recommended conditions from staff. There's that 14-point plan at the end of this report that kind of lays out some of which we're agreeing with, some of which we're not, So maybe if we just said, you know, number 3 is the front facade portico shall utilize wood steps, railings, landings, and columns. So if we just say the recommended condition for front portico, you know, it's option, you know, number 3 in that last list there. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
What page are you on? I'm
18 of 18.
lost. Oh, okay, I was looking at
yeah.
different.
I mean, I think my only question on that was whether we would want to have the actual design for those. I mean, wood steps, railings, landing steps, wood steps, railings, landing steps, and columns. Has steps in it twice, but that's kind of beside the point.
I think
It leaves a lot open to the imagination, and I think I would want it at the very least, the revised proposed elevation subject to staff review or something of the sort.
Well, I think the point would be the design would stay the same. So the design would be the existing design. But
Well, but the
we're just,
existing, the existing railings are an iron spindle railing. The existing steps are CMUs with.
oh, I
parts,
see. I see what you're saying.
Right,
I think, because if this were just a proposal where the only thing they wanted to do was replace the front steps and they just said we want to do it with wood, we would request more than that. We would want
Right.
to drilling. So I think we probably ought to, so that we're making sure we're all thinking the same thing.
yeah.
Okay.
It does occur to me that looking at this list of conditions, we didn't really touch on the aesthetics of the door from the mudroom to the side yard or out onto the rooftop deck, but I think I do agree with what staff put in the report and the conditions here that the design of those, I mean, the whole addition, you guys were trying very nicely to differentiate it because that's the guidance you had taken from the previous commission approval, and we got that. And you clearly know, you know, what a good Victorian door design and window look like. And I am comfortable with that sort of statement in there that, you know, raised profile muntins and an appropriate detailing, final design to be approved by staff on those. Even if we need to see more I mean, I'm comfortable with staff reviewing the proposed detailing for the front facade portico too, if the rest of the commission is, but if you all want to continue that item and have them come back to us for just that part, then I'm not gonna shout you down.
I think that the staff, I don't know if that's something we officially is on our list of staff review.
Oh, that's a good question.
We've never really had a distinct line drawn in behind. I know we've sometimes allocated certain things like shingle and materials and solar panels and stuff like that. Let's have that come back to us just for that. And I was looking at the list. I agree, DJ, about the landing. I hadn't noticed that suggested condition of staffs there. Leading the mudroom addition to the side yard shall utilize raised profile muntins. That we can leave that item 5 staff review. Okay, we're doing a little bit of a hodgepodge here. Let's
Gutters and downspouts, I think, are next.
downspouts. So that gutter is acceptable to me. What do you have now for a gutter? Let's back up here.
Crappy aluminum.
It's aluminum
Yeah,
K.
okay.
K style.
That's an exciting, that gutter, it's a fairly new thing and it reproduces the original gutter. One of the beefs with replacement wood gutters is they don't actually match the profile of the original wood gutters that would have been in a house like this.
Yeah.
This one that you are using does, and it will last somewhat longer until the ice gets a hold of it. So that's fine to me. I don't know if anybody else has any other opinions on that.
Agreed.
I agree.
That was staff recommendation as well, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. One thing we haven't discussed is the chimney removal.
Yeah.
Well, did we want to talk about downspouts? Because that's different than
Oh,
gutters.
copper versus,
Right.
And the dormer also, right?
yeah, we'll do. So downspouts. I mean, I don't,
My assumption was that DuraGutter makes a downspout that works with their gutter. So whatever
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
that material is.
that makes sense to me.
Yep, same.
Yeah,
You're saying rather than the copper, is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, no, we're taking copper off the table.
okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
No
Next,
objection here either.
Um,
So the rear chimney,
so what do you all think about the chimney?
so is this to create more room in the attic? What, does
It's to
removing
create
it?
it's to create more room all the way through the plan. There's no the fireplace that it's attached to is not active. It's used as a vent currently for mechanical systems in the basement, which are also going away. So that
Is there a place where you could cut it off inside the building where it would allow some relief from the plan, but it would remain sticking out of the building? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
we'd have
I
to
think
we'd have to
that's
see exactly how it's built inside and what it's structurally tied to.
right. It's something that we would have to investigate, I think.
Yeah. So is it, you don't know if it's like a freestanding all the way, is it freestanding all the way through?
I know it goes all the way to the basement.
And the basement foundation for that chimney is falling apart. It's the brickwork has been repatched with another layer of bricks on the outside, and it looks like the damp. And I'm not an expert of concrete or brick or whatever, so it looks crappy. It looks like it's going to fall apart at any second. So and you know what they've done is in the basement they've actually put a wall of bricks around the outside of it to keep it up, kind of thing. So one of the reasons of getting rid of that chimney was also to avoid the possibility of it possibly collapsing. So, you know.
The thing with chimneys, we have, if you were to look at our past, we probably have a varying response to that. Obviously, any kind of chimney that's, I mean, it is a character defining aspect to the building. It shows it's slightly distinct about your house in that you have two matching chimneys front and back, which is not super common. You usually have one and then a smaller one off on the back L that was used for a kitchen or something like that. On the other hand, neither one of these chimneys is a you know, super ornate chimney as it would have been in a later style. You're proposing losing the one that's less prominent to the street, although it is visible from the side. People do sometimes fake it. The only issue I'd have with that is that it wouldn't match probably because the fake, they use a veneer brick. I've seen there's a place on Bow Street. Actually, I think that one of our next case has that, where they built out a chimney with a veneer brick that looks pretty good. Will it last? I don't know. But I think my preference would be to keep it if it can work with your design, or as Mr. Coughlin said, if it can be supported somehow from the upper floor. It's a bit of weight to support, but I've seen that kind of thing done. That's my thought. How about you, Ryan and DJ?
yeah, I mean, my preference generally, I think, would be to keep it, but I don't know how strongly I feel about it in, you know, in terms of the feasibility of supporting and repairing it and so forth.
And can we say that it's something that we'll try to do, and if it becomes clear that it's not possible?
Sorry, I muted. Yeah, it could be something that if conditions change, come back to us with
Come
that.
back and let us know, yeah.
I'd be fine losing it myself. I mean, I think the two of them look fine there together, but I think for the average passerby wouldn't probably be noticed all that much. And if you're doing all this work on the house and it could potentially become a safety issue or, you pick up some more space from it and I'd be okay removing it myself, but I don't feel that strongly one way or the other.
Thanks, Ryan.
I mean, my take on it then would be what Mr. Moses proposed of letting them do some investigation, see whether it seems to be salvageable and come back or
Right.
salvageable or cut offable or something and come back and talk to us if it's not.
I think let's make it easy. If we are going to come back to you about the front steps, we'll just come back to you and let you know how the chimney looks. And
That's a
whether
good point too.
It's
Okay.
fine.
it can be fixed. It's I'm not in the knowledge to know whether that chimney can be repaired or salvaged or whatever. We would have to get somebody to come in and have a look at it.
Yeah, I think we'll have to consult with our contractor.
I think I kind of am a same, Mr. Falvey here is, I would like it to stay. If its presence precludes some fundamental design that makes the building work for you, I don't think it's that important.
Okay,
But-
great.
Which was what my original question was. Does it clear up a lot of room for you in your plan throughout? It's like necessary for your interior design.
It does. It actually opens up the space in the back. So
Right.
you basically, if we can remove it, we open up the walkway through the internal dining room and kitchen area as to a little bit more open, rather than having the chimney kind of in the way, as you'd imagine.
Right.
Okay, so let's do that next. Obviously, it's going to go away one way or another on the first floor, but come back to us next time and let us know what your contractor
Yeah.
says about keeping it.
Yeah, we'll have to ask them about that.
Okay.
And then the last one is the dormer
Yeah.
for a attic or top floor bathroom. Is that correct?
That's right. It's a hip roof.
The proposed dormer doesn't look out of place to me on the new elevation, the way it's drawn. So I think, what our guidelines say, new dormers will be permitted if they're related to the forms, proportions, size, and arrangement of existing windows and constructed in matching materials and colors. If possible, new dormers should be confined to the rear of the house. I mean, you're halfway back on the main body of the house. It feels to me like this is proportionally related and appropriate and draws its character from the rest of the house in a pretty elegant way, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with Commissioner Chagnon on that. His take on the dormer. Would fully support that.
Yeah, I would too. Just make sure the roofing matches.
Yeah.
The eave detail, just focus on the detailing of that, how to soften the eave, the pickup to match the same kind of overhang as you have down below so that it feels like it belongs in a way.
Yep.
It's centered, it's sort of, it has the balance going, look purposeful.
Yeah.
So am I seeing two different window options for the dormer as well?
There was a previous submittal, and the staff wanted to work with us
Okay.
on
Okay.
So the second one would be those double hungs.
the double hungs, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think it looks nice. I
Yeah.
agree. I would approve that addition. Make that top floor more livable space.
Okay, so I think if we covered everything,
I think so.
so, and we've covered a whole bunch of things. I would suggest a motion that incorporates the staff comments. I don't think, are there any staff proposals that we've not gone along
The
with?
fiber cement siding, I think that the sense of the commission is that we were leaning towards approving the fiber cement siding, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
staff had not recommended. Just skim the rest of these.
Smooth side out, please. That fake driftwood look is atrocious.
Yeah. So we were basically taking staff's proposed conditions, editing condition 3 to state that we wanted to review the final design for the front with steps, railings, landings, and columns.
Together with that, let's also wash in the railing that would happen above the mudroom. Since
Yes. Yep, thank you. Yeah, staff's conditions 4 and 5 about the doors. Condition 6 is about the siding for the mudroom shall be horizontal wood, horizontal clapboard to match the rest of the building's facade. I think we'd strike the word wood because it'd be fiber cement if we're going that way. Basement gutters. So we would be removing condition 8. About replacement clapboard shall be made of wood. Condition 11 is the chimney, and I think we would be asking to review that at the, well, I think in the conditioning for now, it would be approving it with the condition that they both be retained if feasible, and asking them to come back if that's not so. I'm not sure how to structure that as a condition.
Well, we could also just deny that without, what do you call it, without prejudice, so that they're allowed to come right back for it.
Okay,
Otherwise it's a 2-year waiting period.
right.
So it's functionally the same thing.
So we want to
Okay.
see, for the next meeting, would want to see the chimney, the front portico, and the back railing.
Yeah,
Those 3 items. Is that right?
that sounds right to me.
So a motion could kind of embody what Mr. Falvey just said, or what was.
Yeah, I will
Agreed
go
to.
with motion to grant a certificate of appropriateness subject to the conditions as we all just discussed and enumerated them.
Okay, agreed.
Yeah, and yeah. Have any other, are there any findings we're supposed to incorporate on that? I think the conditions encompass the findings, right?
Mr. Chairman, through you, you are not required to have findings for alteration cases.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, then,
Is
so
there a
moved.
second? Or do we have that was a motion you just made, right?
That
So-
was a motion, yes.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Yeah.
Seconded by Mr. Coughlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll do a roll call. Mr. Chagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Mr. Coughlin,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So there you have it, folks. We'll see you again for those items we discussed.
Great. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you all.
Good
Thank
luck
you
with it.
indeed.
See you
Thanks
soon.
very much.
Yeah,
Good night.
take care.
Now we're switching to, so we didn't really cover this before, but Vice Chair Kelly was recused for that case, hence she didn't vote on it. The next case is HP 23-000083, address is 30 Bow Street. Applicant is Modern Love LLC, owner is 30 Bow Street LLC. The applicant seeks a certificate of appropriateness to alter an LHD property by installing a mechanical platform lift and adding an accessible path. And my understanding is that Mr. Coughlin will recuse himself from this one, and we will get Vice Chair Kelly back. Is this correct?
Yep,
Yes.
I'm here.
Okay, welcome back.
Right.
Do we have the applicant here for 30 Bow Street?
Will the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted to a panelist for this item? All right, I see a hand raised. Brian Militana, you are going to be promoted to panelist. There he is.
You appear to be muted, Mr. Militana.
I'm here.
Hello.
I'm here.
Good evening.
Hi.
I'm here.
Hi. I'm the architect. This is,
My name's Lauren. I'm the owner. I just got off the licensing commission hearing, so we got our licensing approval. Sorry about that.
yes.
I'm running between Zooms right now.
Zooming around.
Yeah.
Yes. So you all have received the materials. You all had a chance to review them. I don't have a presentation per se, but I could walk you through the plans and images if that's helpful.
Um,
Or do you feel like you all have an understanding of what we're proposing?
I've
Reviewing
seen
it present again.
Maybe you could just pull
Why
up
don't
if you could pull up the site plan and just give a quick narrative for
Yeah,
anybody
I can do
look forward
that.
here.
Mr. Militana, I'm giving you the permission to share.
Okay. So I am going to start just with, so this is the building at 30 Bow. It's currently an architectural office. We are proposing to create the project is going to be a first floor retail space of a wine bottle shop, which necessitates an accessible entrance. We are proposing to have that accessible entrance in the back of the building, so on the rear facade. That being said, we have to have an accessible route to the back of the building. So I'll show you in plan, but basically we'll do a paved path at the level of the driveway, going back alongside of the house to the rear of the building where we'll be making some other moves. So let me show you some images. One second. Let me just go straight to the plans. So this is the existing floor plan. We're bringing, so basically you have a gravel driveway, and then there's an existing back porch with the stair going up, and there's planting beds around the house. What we're proposing is an accessible path here of permeable pavers. I shared the spec. It'll come up against the house for a short section, and then there will be a planting bed. And then in the back, we need to rebuild the deck to be at the same level as the floor height in here inside. So that raises the deck about 7 inches. We're building a smaller deck by insetting the stairs. So everything that's happening is in the back of the building. And then next to the building, we're proposing an wheelchair lift to provide access. And then we are also proposing, there's an existing set of double doors here that we're proposing to make a single door so that we can meet the width of an accessible entrance, the width requirements. So this is a side elevation of what we're proposing. That's the wheelchair lift, the stair, And then we're proposing just a very simple painted wood deck, vertical 1x4, painted skirting, and a wood railing. And then this is the new door at the rear of the building. And that I can get into the specifics. And let me show you just one more. I can get into the specifics with the if you guys have questions, but let me show you a picture of the existing. So this is the area we're talking about. So we're proposing to replace this deck. And one more item. We're proposing to grind out this stump so that the driveway can continue straight. Do you all have any questions?
Don't think so. If we do, we'll bring them up after. We customarily switch to public comment.
Okay.
If any questions come up, we'll just give you a holler.
Would you like to add anything?
Unless I'll certainly speak up
Okay.
if you have questions that he can't answer, but I think that, yeah.
Okay. Are there members of the public who'd like to speak? Please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going through the list for any raised hands. I do not see any members of the public with their hands raised. You may close the public comment.
Yeah, I'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. For just a question, so how much of this rear porch has been determined to be actually visible from a public way? I could see just the outermost angle if you're just to draw a line in the corner.
I don't know that any of it is visible from the public way. This is our picture of the driveway. There you can see the existing stair bumping out, but like I said, our existing stairs recess behind, and there's a bay window here. If I go to Google Earth again, just to show like well, I can't find it now, but the point is I don't think it's visible from the public way. I think only the accessible path would be, which is, I mean, our goal is to create the most minimal intervention and provide accessible entrance to the building.
And it seems that the way in the back there, it's
In
really a
the-
discussion about the pathway, and I might want to defer to Mr. Chagnon, our landscape architect, about that.
In the plans and specifications PDF that was sent out to the commission, you know, page 20 has a view that's sort of from a little bit in front of the bluish greenhouse that's to the left at an angle. And you can see it, but just barely. I mean, it's there. It's somewhere in your photos. I wish these had the photo numbers. I could tell Mr. Militoni.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in that batch, but
One
it's
more.
okay. No.
But it's
Left
minimal.
side elevation, maybe?
This
Yeah,
is
that's
the
the one.
left
Oh, yeah.
elevation. There you
That's
go.
the one. So you can barely see it at the back there. I mean, I'd say
But
it's
all,
pretty minimal, and what you're doing is in keeping with I'm not too concerned about it, but I think my biggest question, actually, since we're on the topic of what you can see from the public right away, one of the few things that is visible is the trellis that's above it. Is there a plan to rebuild that over the new porch, or would that go away?
our goal is to let that go away.
Yeah.
It's not original to the building, and we're trying to rebuild this just kind of simply and respectfully.
Totally reasonable. Just wanted to be clear as to whether it was staying or going. That's fine, yeah. All right, so did we do public comment? Did we close public comment?
We did.
Yeah, because nobody showed up. So I guess my question, since since Chair Parks called me out,
Mhm.
just to be sure, since the Hanover press brick permeable paver, which by the way, good choice of product. Those will hold up well for you. I assume you're going with just the 4.5 by 9 rectangular brick look ones, not the ones with the additional scores and stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking of I think I
Just-
provided the link, but it's the 4.5 by 9 and
Yeah.
it's like a gray color.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're thinking gray. Okay.
I'm open to the commission's suggestion, but I was thinking of something gray. We have granite and gravel. I just kind of want it to disappear.
Understandable. And I think gray is a very reasonable choice. Yeah, I'd say definitely go with, either the gray or the sort of brick red, the quarry red that they have in the upper right. But the gray is going to disappear more. The permeable joints don't jump as much with the gray. Are you planning on keeping the cobble apron that's at the front of the gravel drive, or would that go away?
I think so there's a cobbled apron. You can see it better going all the way around.
I'm sorry, that would be the cobble curb. I actually mean if you go to the one that's looking straight down the driveway, I can show you what I'm asking about.
This one?
I meant from the street side.
All right, give me one.
Yeah,
I think
no
I can do this. There we go.
Yeah. So I'm asking about these guys.
Oh, the apron.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, because we're looking not to impact this. Like,
Okay.
as it turns out, this curb is exactly 4 feet. It doesn't look like it, and our path needs to be 4 feet. So
Oh, yeah.
we're literally just gonna pull this back and run this way. We don't have any plans right now to re-gravel or anything like that.
Sure. Just in terms of drainage from the house, since that looks a little lipped, it may be worth considering whether you could keep the cobble apron. You may not have the width though. Like keeping the cobble curb along the edge and running your pavers up above it at 6 inches higher. And then you just sort of have to spend the length of that cobble apron where there's the deteriorated, busted up concrete that you want to replace anyway.
Getting there.
I don't know if your grades will work to ramp up there though. So you may end up having to follow the grade down at the driveway, in which case, yeah, I think you run a soldier course of the pavers on the edge to give a nice clean look that's kind of like the cobbles.
Yeah.
And go with the gray cobbles and the gray permeable pavers. I assume that they are permeable because you're required to do so from a lot coverage point of view, or is this just an interest in the interest of environmental infiltration?
I think it's kind of just because we don't want to change the way the water works on the site. We want to just play it safe. We don't want to do a lot of permeable area calculations, etc.
Yeah, no, understand. Replace permeable with permeable makes a lot of sense since it's a plant bed now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think my only worry, and this is coming from it as a landscape architectural point of view, is I don't know how that driveway is pitching. If right now it's leaning against the cobble curb, then it's getting out to the street. And if the curb goes away and it goes down and you have a permeable condition there, are you going to end up risking infiltration? Like basically right now, all that's getting to that plant bed is what's falling directly on it, and it's probably not all that much that's going into your basement.
Right.
I guess where I'm coming from is I would be open to saying, you may want to consider a non-permeable paver that's otherwise a very similar look. I know for accessibility reasons, you're not going to be able to do true cobbles there, and I wouldn't try to push you to.
Right.
It's worth looking into whether going with a non-permeable one will impact your infiltration, just because I'd hate for you to see you do that with the best of intentions, which I think they are.
Yeah.
Create a water problem in the basement on you.
Is there a way that to give us that flexibility without having to go back before the board, is there a way that you guys could approve like a 4 by 9 inch paver, permeable or non-permeable?
I think we could structure a condition that way, yeah.
I don't,
And I
Just
don't
in
have an
case we
issue.
run into a problem.
Exactly.
I think we've done that sort of thing in the past to give two options. That
I mean, the permeable pavers are great, and our city sorely needs more stormwater infiltration, so I think that if it's not gonna make a wreck of your basement, it's the right way to go. But
Okay,
it's so
well,
close to the building that yeah, that's my only thoughts. I mean, I feel like you can't use the driveway. Codes are codes, and I think that this is a very thoughtful approach to getting the access to the back for this wheelchair access on the project. So yeah, the loss of a few shrubs, we don't regulate plant material anyway. Having a walk next to the driveway doesn't feel out of character to me. Thoughts from anyone else?
This all seems very non-controversial to me,
Yeah.
given
Yeah.
the minimal work that's being done, the purpose for it, and how not visible from the public way the new deck and lift would be. So I have no objections or concerns about this as presented.
I agree.
and it's fine to me. And I'm usually not a huge fan of gray brick, but I think in this location it would be the way to go. Otherwise,
Yeah,
an extension of foundation wall out into the driveway would be the other. So I like everything about it, and obviously getting it access to that building is important. So we wouldn't want to stand in the way of that in any case.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my blessings with the comments that Mr. Chagnon has said regarding the question of permeability or non-permeability. I think either of those is fine by me for as a historic commission person.
yeah.
I move that we vote to approve the request as amended with the option for permeable or non-permeable pavers.
Yeah.
Second the motion.
A motion by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Falvey. All in favor?
I
Opposed? I'll do a roll call, starting with Mr. Chagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
yes.
and I'll vote yes. So there you have it. Thank you, folks.
thank
you
you
very
all. Have a
much.
good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Okay. Those are our alterations to local historic district cases, and we now have several demolition related cases, 3 of them. Right, yeah. The first is HP 24-000001. Address is 382 Broadway. The applicant is Garrett Anus. Owner is 382 Broadway LLC. The applicant seeks to demolish a building that is at least 75 years of age. Do we have an applicant here tonight for this?
Yes, Garrett Innes, I am promoting you to panelist.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I need to step away for just a moment, but I'll be back. I am not recusing myself.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi there. Just give us a quick rundown. Obviously, it's a demolition case, but just give us your quick rundown of what you're proposing there.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for hearing me tonight. I do want to share a little bit about this project. So a little bit about me. I'm a local real estate developer here in Winter Hill. I've developed a lot of properties around this city. And I'm sure there's many people listening who are curious about what's going on with 382 Broadway. So while I have the mic, I just want to, give everyone the rundown, if you will. So a few years ago, I bought the property. It was on the market for a long time. No homeowners were buying this thing. It's really big. It was kind of perfect for a developer. It was in really bad shape on the inside and out. And then I saw that it was zoned UR and all the lot dimensions allowed the development of a 10-unit apartment house. So, you know, in 2019, when Somerville rezoned the city, most of the city was downzoned, if you will, for in the neighborhood residential districts for 1, 2, and 3 family homes. But you know, along the major retail corridors, they kind of upzoned it. So like 2 doors down from us, there's actually a developer that's applying to get like 60 units in a lot that's only twice as big as this one. So, you know, I took a leap of faith. I bought the house. I hired one of the best architects in town, Khalsa Design, to come up with a design for a 10-unit house, including 2 affordable units. I guess you could call it my little contribution to solving the housing crisis. You know, at this point, I could have done it the easy way and applied for a demo permit, waited out the 1-year demo delay, torn it down, built a new conforming structure, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to preserve as much of the current building as I could. So a lot of thought and time went into coming up with a plan to retain the current building's facade and the current setback from the street. The plan was just for an addition in the rear, along with some bay windows on the right side of the house. We complied with every zoning bylaw and dimensional regulation in the SZO, and except for the current front setback was past the maximum setback since it was pre-existing non-conforming, and we didn't think that would really be an issue with the city. So we finalized the plan, sent it to the city to get the certificate of zoning compliance, and it was rejected. I actually dug up an old email and they said, quote unquote, the issue is the structure is currently a non-conforming building type for the district. This proposal seeks to create an allowed building type. The new building type must conform with dimensional regulations for that specific type. So pretty much after all the work we did, time, money spent on these plans, we had to go back to the drawing board. At this point, it was either keep it as a 2-family and do nothing to it, and you know, sell it most likely at a loss because I don't know who's buying, you know, 2 3,500 square foot units. It also going to cost a lot of money to renovate it. So, you know, we went with the latter option. We went with the viable option, which was to comply with the city's bylaws. So Khalsa Design came up with a really, really gorgeous design that paid homage to the original home, while also keeping 50% of the original structure intact, so we wouldn't have to apply for demolition, as redoing the entire plan had already taken us a very, very long time. It was a complicated design. It involved an addition in the front and in the back in order to comply with the zoning laws. And so at this point, the entire facade of the house was going to be removed because this was pretty much mandated by the city in order to do a compliant project. So it was a time-consuming process. It didn't slide by them. It was analyzed under a microscope. We had to come up with engineered plans for mechanical, plumbing, electrical, sprinkler, structural, civil, and also had to go through Somerville's new super stretch code. So the building had to comply with the strictest energy code in the state. It's going to be all electric, even though there's already gas on site, and it will pretty much meet all the requirements of a passive house. Although it doesn't have to be a passive house, it's pretty much going to be right up there. So, you know, it took a very long time to get the building permit. And then, you know, we commenced construction, laid the new foundation. And after the first floor was built, the framers went to cut out the roof for the dormers. And after cutting out multiple sections of the roof, there was a kind of like little parts remaining here and there. And it became a pretty big safety issue at that point. We spoke to our engineer. The amount of bracing that was going to have to be, you know, installed would have been extensive. So at that point in time, you know, and also like a week prior, there was like a huge windstorm that swept through. So I'm glad we weren't doing the work at that point in time. But, you know, so pretty much after they cut out for the dormers, they decided the safest way to continue with the construction would be to remove the roof, build new. And honestly, at that point, the safety of my workers was paramount to saving, you know, some rafters and plywood that was already rotted. So after the roof was torn down, I also gave permission to my framers to replace the 2x4 exterior walls on the second floor where the plan had called for 2x6 walls. The only reason we were saving those was to hold off the roof, but at that point in time, the roof was already torn down. So, you know, we wanted to build a house that was proper, that was, you know, had 2x6 exterior walls. It'd be better for the R value, especially. And those walls were actually going to be removed and replaced in the exact same spot. They would have been replaced the next day and the roof would have been done, you know, a couple days later. But at this point in time, since we had removed so much of the structure, ISD stopped us. You know, we had gone over that 50% threshold. And that's why the house looks the way it does right now for 2 months. It would have been completed over a month ago. But, you know, here we are at the meeting. And, you know, we tried to preserve as much as we could, but things unfortunately didn't go as planned. This wasn't a case of, oops, my bad. These were intentional decisions that were not made lightly. Also, I just want to add, you know, I'm a member, not actively, I guess. Well, I don't really contribute, but of the Gilman Square Neighborhood Association. You know, I follow people's comments. People commented about this house. You know, and just to address a few of their issues, these aren't going to be micro units. They're all comfortable sized units, 600 to 900 square feet, including 2 affordable dwelling units. Also, there's nothing cheap about this construction. In fact, it costs twice as much to do renovations as it does new construction because you're tying in old with new. It also takes twice as much time and is twice as difficult. And I think that was the only other comment I had. But you know, I'm proud of a lot of the work that I've done in the city. I am, you know, if people reach out to me, I'll send you links to the projects I've done in the city. I frequently get tons of compliments on the work I've done. So sorry for taking so long, but I can share a screenshot of the, you know, proposed construction if people want to see it. Let's see. Do that. I want to share it.
Mr. Chair, through you, where we are determining historic significance, we don't need to see.
Oh, you don't need to see it? Okay.
Yeah, and just to back up a little bit, some things I usually say before you start, just to the member of the public, I explain the process. And the demolition, we're the Historic Commission, we're not the zoning board, so we don't address anything to do with what, you know, highest and best use of the property and all that.
Yeah. I just want to give everyone the background because I think there's probably some people, you know, residents that are very curious about what's going on. So
Yeah,
that's why.
We normally, and I get your intent there. It's not that it's disallowed, but we can't, well, let me first say that the demolition delay ordinance is a 2-step process for anybody who's listening out there. The first step, as we're tonight, is to evaluate the existing structure as though there were a structure there still, and determine whether or not it has historic significance. If we vote yes, then it gets kicked to a meeting a month later, another public hearing, where we review the structure and decide if it's preferably preserved, which is really a point where we begin to review other factors, the condition of the structure. And that's the point when we would sometimes review what's proposed because this is a comparative process preferable to something else. So at this point in the hearing, as Vice Chair Kelly said, this is a little bit more streamlined. It's purely looking at the existing structure, deciding whether it has significance. There is other information, and I get that you want to get out there because there are probably some people in the community who want to see what you have going. It's not really something that can factor into this decision tonight. I guess the question for the other commissioners, is that something that you see any reason, if there are a lot of folks out there that want to see what's going on, is this a venue for that, or should we just sort of say no?
That will be the next meeting.
Yeah.
This is just what the property looked like before Mr. Enos did. So.
Yeah. So I would suggest that you if there's a lot of public wanting to see that, that you find a way to get that to them outside of this, because it is, as Vice Chair Kelly said, it's sort of suggesting that we're going to review that tonight, and it's not really our purview at this point. So, okay. Does that make sense to you, to cut you off in the middle of your sentence? Is there anything else you want to say? Because the next step for us would be to go
No,
to public comment.
no, that's it. I just kind of want to, let people know what the background on the project is.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate your time.
And in that case, we will open it up for public comment. And as I said, for members of the public, we're not the zoning board. We're purely looking at the significance of the existing structure. And anybody who asks questions, our process is that we just accept comment. We don't engage in discussions with the members of the public until after the conclusion of public comment, and then we can answer questions that may or may not come up at that point. This is for streamlining the process. So if there are any members of the public who'd like to speak, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, please raise your hand for a 2-minute public comment on this item. Please be aware at the end of your 2 minutes, I will come on and let you know to wrap your comment up. And that will just give you a couple seconds to wrap up your comment. All right. Daniel Cronin, you are unmuted. Daniel Cronin, you will need to unmute yourself on your end to give your 2-minute public comment.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I live in a listed building in Winter Hill in the Historic District, and we're neighbors of this house. And my question to the commission is that when this house began, it was derelict for many, many months, and then the porch was ripped off it. And I notified the commission and asked if something can be done, as was done to Catholic Charities building around the corner, to preserve this building, which is an asset, or rather was an asset, to the neighborhood. The building is completely demolished now. Completely demolished. There is 1/4 of a wall left. So I frankly don't know what you're supposed to be doing at this point. There's no building left.
Mr. Cronin, is that the end of your public comment?
It is, yes.
All right, thank you. All right. Sean Kritz, my apologies if I pronounced your name incorrectly. You have been unmuted for a 2-minute public comment.
Thank you very much. My name is Sean Kreitz. I live around the corner at 162 Sycamore Street. And this question is just for the commission. It's not zoning or anything like that. I actually work a lot in historic preservation, Beacon Hill, Back Bay, and I go to the Architectural Commission all the time for approval. And I understand that here is a little different. There's a demolition delay. And my question is for the developer. I guess it's not a back and forth. It's just a comment. When you got that house, you put holes in the roof. You took down windows. You left them all open for years. You knew there was a historic delay here, and there is absolutely nothing left to that house. I mean, you put all new framing and everything. You kept up like a couple of shingles. I mean, it's hard to watch it for 3 years as a neighbor and to not think that your intention was to say that you couldn't restore it regardless. You know, it's kind of a shame that at least you can't just go through the process of the Historic Commission and give them the chance to look at the property and decide whether it's historically appropriate or not. And a lot of neighbors around here are just kind of a little perplexed by what that is out there. And I wish you well on creating a 10-unit building and how high it's going to be and fitting in with the neighborhood, because you already block off sunlight from 2 houses on the left and the right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
my apologies, forgot to unmute myself. Christine Evans, you have been unmuted. You may speak. You just need to unmute yourself.
Yes, hi. I have very much the same comment that Sean had. Early on in the process, after 1921, windows were taken out, the chimney was taken down, so there was a hole in the roof. And I assumed that the intention was to let that house rot and fall down. So now that you're asking to demolish it, I'm surprised because you were essentially doing the same thing without asking for permission. So it just makes me curious and wary of what else you're going to be doing when you're building that house. So I will be very interested in following the zoning and the other hearings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kate St. Laurent, you have been unmuted. You will need to unmute yourself on your end to be able to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. I just wanted to echo a lot of what we have heard. I personally have been through the historic demolition process as a homeowner in Somerville. I think that this is a perfect example of some things that we have seen happen since I went through it in 2020, where developers seem to be able to get around this process. It happened behind me, on the street behind me, and I have seen it happen in other places in the city. I mean, I don't have anything against putting in more units. You know, we certainly need it in the city. However, it just seems like there is a process and developers should not be immune to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron Cavallo, you have been unmuted. You will need to unmute yourself on your end to be able to speak.
Yeah, Ron Cavallo. I live in Ward 7 and I'm very vocal at all of these meetings. I need to say that, frankly, what I've seen here is startling, and I have to say startling and disappointing and shocking. But I'm thinking ahead. Firstly, I would really like to see what is proposed here because the end product is important. But more than that, given that the building is gone, I think what is most important for me to say is that there be some kind of make sense solution here. And we all know that the city needs more rental units. I don't think it needs more affordable rental units. I think we've really satisfied that requirement a long time ago. And I'm, very much against linkage and affordable units. But what I am for is that the city grow, expand the tax base, address the dismal infrastructure, which means expanding the tax base. And I'm very much for a make sense solution to this problem. I'm not condoning what the developer did. I think developing in Somerville is something I would never do again for a multitude of reasons. But again, I think at this point, we have to acknowledge the building is gone, that there were mistakes that were made, that there needs to be a make sense, reasonable solution, and that it needs to be sooner rather than later. I think one also has to be concerned about the developer, being able to fund this. This building has been sitting, it's going to sit longer, and one has to think about the financial health of the developer if this thing is going to be brought to completion. And it's not easy to get financing for smaller projects in the city of Somerville. The banks don't like the city. I know that for a fact. So one has to really not only look at what has happened here, but one has to be wise and come up with a reasonable, expedient, make sense solution to this problem. And again, I'm not condoning what happened. I find what happened startling and upsetting. But there's a problem here. It's a multifaceted problem. It needs to be addressed in a make sense way. And I really would like to see what the developer would like to propose. I know you're saying next meeting. I'd like to see it sooner rather than later. And I would really like to see it tonight. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Teresa Dovidillo, you have been unmuted. You will need to unmute yourself on your end to be able to speak.
Hi, my name is Terry. I am at 380 Broadway, right next to 382. I am on the corner. I am the big Queen Anne. Garrett, I am so pissed at you. I'm sorry, I have to say that. Yes, everybody has said what they have said, and that's true. But I've also watched as the water and the power was cut off from the halfway house up the street. There is no dig safe pattern. When they talk about engineering, well, they've taken out the curb, so the water is now that comes down the hill coming into my property that is cracking our foundation wall. I've had to call the inspection department multiple times to have someone come out to stop the workers because they're starting to tear down a retaining wall that comes between our properties. It's not sensible. It just doesn't. I totally understand. My father is my father. And my house is not historically commissioned or anything, but we have tried to keep it as such. By this property next to us now, I feel like it's now decreased our property, the way that you have gone about this development. It really is upsetting to me, but I understand what you want to do, and I hope you can do something better. I wish you would went to court and said, we got to push this back though, because it's really protruding in an awful way. Thank you. And it's really sad. I don't know how you can. I don't understand how the commission works where you can't stop someone from tearing down a building if they're tearing it down. I need to learn more about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lissy Wall, you have been unmuted. You'll need to unmute yourself to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I don't know, it seems to me like it's a bad joke to say that you knock the walls and then for safety reasons, you have to knock down what is left of the historic building. How can that be? I also agree that the construction is protruding too much. And I would really request that this be corrected, that some semblance of what was there, that the historic character of the block and the house itself that's been destroyed be put back in. If you destroy something and then you say, well, it's already destroyed, I can't do anything about it, I think that that's not correct. This developer should be asked to respond to the character of the building and put back in some of the traits that characterize the area. And should be punished in some way for destroying a historic piece, just like that, no?
Thank you. Gretchen Roll Scott, you have been unmuted. You will need to unmute yourself on your end to be able to speak.
Thank you very much. My property abuts the property on Broadway that is in question. We've watched it deteriorate over time. There were windows missing. There were holes cut in the roof. And we thought it was going to be skylights, but it was just holes for rain to come in. What concerns me at this point is that what was proposed and what was marketed for at least a year on the real estate sites was a building that doesn't look like what you're building at this point. We watched that house go into disrepair. We felt that all you were doing was letting it rot so you could get a demolition permit. And then we watched you systematically dismantle it until there's only a small piece left. And now you're coming to the Historic Commission for a demolition. And that just doesn't set well with me. It just doesn't seem right. And it doesn't seem with the spirit of what the city is trying to do, regardless of the density requirements or aspirations.
Thank you.
If there are any other members of the public who haven't spoken, who would like to give a 2-minute public comment on this item, please raise your hands. Helen Schwickrath, you have been unmuted. You will need to unmute yourself on your end to be able to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I too live on Winter Hill. I've watched how this structure has been demolished, and the only thing that's original is some of the foundation and maybe a few pieces of wood, not enough for a skateboard. And it's we haven't heard maybe everything that was to happen. I had heard 10 micro units. Now I'm hearing it's not 10 micro units, it's something else. What is the reality of this job besides destroying an old house? Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are any other members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand and you'll be unmuted. Mr. Chairman, I do not see any other members of the public with their hands raised. You may close the public comment.
All right, I'll close the public comment portion of the hearing. And I will give a quick address to a couple of the questions that came up, and I think I'll give the applicant a chance to answer. I think he was asked a few things, and then we'll take it up to commission. But just to point out to the public, I know it seems like sort of an academic exercise, but the structure is largely gone. We can't reward somebody by saying it's gone, so we can't review it for significance. We're reviewing the property as it existed before this happened for significance. Another couple of questions we can come to later. Mr. Innes, do you have anything you want to say to people who asked you things? Rebuttal, I guess you could.
Yeah, I mean, obviously things didn't go quite as planned. I wish there was a way to do it better, I guess, in hindsight. But you know, the city, we tried. The first rendition of this plan was to just do an addition in the rear. The city mandated us. They told us that we had to comply with the dimensional regulations of the building type, and we had to, then there was a maximum distance from this front setback that this building was non-conforming, so we had to push it forward. You know, we didn't have to go to a historic board, you know, previously. You know, at this point we had to go through historic. We're not looking to demolish any more of the building, but like we have to go through this process because we've taken off more than 50% of the walls. So you know, you can certainly share what the project's going to look like. It is going to look like what you probably can see online. You know, it's just we're stopped right now. We've been stopped since you know, since when they took the roof down. So the house would have been done a month and a half ago. It doesn't take that long. but this process does take a long time. So, obviously I don't want to see this sitting for another year the way it is. I want to get it built. It was a very complicated build, and it has not been easy. And I apologize to everyone that it's affected negatively. But I give my phone number to my neighbors when I can, and they can always reach out to me when there's issues.
Thanks.
Yep.
One thing that's sort of like a glaring question, to clarify, your original plan was to add on and back.
Correct.
And you were told by our ISD that you could not do that without changing the front setback.
So we want to build a apartment house, with 10 units. And so I guess that changed the building type. So I can read again what the ISD sent me. They said that, quote unquote, the issue is the structure is currently a non-conforming building type for the district. It's a UR district, and it was just a 2-family house. So our proposal seeks to create an allowed building type in the UR district. The new building type must conform with dimensional regulations for that specific type. So pretty much the only thing that could have been done without pushing the building forward is just renovating it as it was, as a 2-family. There wasn't much opportunity there. It was sitting on the market for a very long time. Homeowners were not buying this because it was pretty much an albatross. It was just a huge house that was in dreadful shape on the inside. I saw an opportunity to create some more units. And when I bought it, I thought we could just do an addition in the back and keep the front where it was, because it was pre-existing non-conforming. And, after going through the design process months later, we, were notified that we had to push the building forward. So, I guess some other people commented, the hole in the roof. Yes, we took the chimney down because the chimney in its current place would not have jived with the floor plans that we want to create. So yes, there was a hole in the roof.
So why not secure that?
Sorry, say that again.
Why not secure it? Why not cover it so that you're not having water come in the building? That's the piece that's kind of dumbfounding.
I guess we could have. We didn't see it as an issue. It was never brought to my attention that it was an issue until right now. I apologize that I guess the unsightliness negatively affected residents. I do apologize about that.
It's not about the unsightliness. It's about you had a responsibility to preserve at least 50% of the original structure. And by leaving it exposed to the elements, you increased the chances that more of the building would be destroyed. That's the issue. It's not about being unsightly.
Well, there was going to be new floor joists installed. The house was gutted at that point in order to make way for, the new unit in order to make way for the new plans. So at that point in time, some rainwater dropping down to the floor, it's not going to deteriorate the building any more than it was, because we were putting new floor joists in anyways. We did not hold on to this for a few years to wait for rain to kind of destroy this building. We were waiting for the building permit. It took a very long time. It was a very extensive process. The ISD looked at this with a microscope. It took a long time. If we got the building permit years sooner and could have done this sooner, then we would have. And I apologize for taking this long, but there's reasons it took this long.
Okay. To conclude the thought, could staff, this issue with, I don't want to belabor that now because I already did, but this issue with what zoning required, sort of not within our purview right now. I'd like to know more about that though, in terms of, what I'm hearing is that the act of adding additional units to the structure obligates the owner to completely change the building type without any care. And that's what I'm hearing. I want to know what the real story is of that, if there's anything more to it, because this would obviously be an issue going forward.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I don't have that information of what was transpired between ISD and the applicant. I do know that at any point, that the demolition exceeded the 50% threshold, they should have come to us to discuss that. And if that was going to be an issue, ISD also flags that, and they would have flagged us for that review. I would also say there are multiple points where other avenues are available to the applicant to discuss things with planning staff, zoning staff. But my assumption is that this fault does not lie with ISD.
Okay, and that's a digression. It's not really what we're about tonight, but I just want to know more about that. I don't expect an answer. But yes, you had to have anticipated that if there's a chance that your walls and roof are flopping around, that's why you have engineers, that's why you have construction management process, it's not like that was an unforeseen condition. The likelihood that additional envelope would have to come down, thus kicking you into this category, was out there.
And the decision about, things needed to happen because of worker safety, it needed to be stopped. You didn't need to continue with the work. It should have been stopped as soon as it was seen that more was going to be taken down than was originally planned. ISD should have been brought in and a new plan should have been made. That would have sent you back to us before the house was fully destroyed. And so, trying to veil things with some sort of virtue of worker safety is really disingenuous. So I can't even with these architectural firms that are providing plans for people that bring it up to 49%, when we know that these old houses invariably have issues that then end up needing more work. And then we cut, what is this? The 6th house that we've lost to Khalsa designing things to 49%? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the idea that this was not stopped as soon as it was found that there were issues is just absurd. I mean, you began, Mr. Enos, saying that, you're experienced and you've built things in Somerville, et cetera, et cetera. You didn't pursue things as an experienced person unless you were trying to pull one over on us and the neighbors. And so that's really, really not nice, because particularly for people who work in the public realm, such as real estate, even though you are a private developer, you have a responsibility to your neighbors and to the city. And so it's incredibly frustrating that this should have been seen from miles away that this was going to happen. And now we're faced with just a shell, not even a shell of a structure, where originally there was quite a lovely house there, and understanding that it needed work and things needed to be done. But it just is absolutely infuriating that this keeps coming back to us with these properties that, like, oops, we took down 49% and then the wind blew down the exposed wall because it wasn't properly secured, and it's just, I'm so frustrated, and it's just not okay. I personally would like to see the house rebuilt as it was.
Thank you. Yeah, you're not the first person that's had this situation come to us. We've had a few others in recent years where they push it right up to the limit, and it is kind of frustrating because as an architect myself, I would never advise a client to rip off all but 3 square feet of something and have the risk of a lonely artifact suddenly get us in the wrong camp. Who else in the commission wants to add some thought on this?
Well, my thought on the matter is that most of what's being discussed seems to factor more into the preferably preserved discussion rather than historic significance. With respectfully to Vice Chair Kelly, I think you're right that the existing property that was there that we're supposed to be judging was a relatively lovely house with a fair amount of history associated with, a relatively lovely house in reported disrepair. to give due credit to that, with, you know, associations with history of prominent, not prominent, but notable folks in Somerville's past, and so forth, according to the staff report. And in the interest of the fact that I see this as very likely to have another discussion in front of us in another month or so, I would propose that we move on to the question of significance. And
Thank you.
Right.
we can burn all that energy again a month from now when we talk preferably preserved. And to Mr. Cavallo's point, from the public who brought it up, you know, as Vice Chair Kelly said, we don't want to reward having gone around the process. And much as I would like, for the sake of the neighbors, to be able to skip past significance and figure out what we're going to do about this situation, that's not what our purview and our statute and the demolition delay ordinance let us do. So, I mean, my take on it is that, as both on its architectural merits and on its, you know, association in past history with, you know, well, I don't know that he's particularly notable, but the general superintendent of the Boston and Maine Railroad and a major railroad person in Somerville's rail history and so on, and other factors. I mean, I think that the building to me strikes me as, if this had come in front of us for demo delay untouched, we would have said, yep, that's significant. Let's talk preferably preserved and see what Khalsa Design is proposing next month. At least that's my thoughts. Do people feel ready to entertain a motion on historic significance, or?
I
Yes.
would. It seems very clearly the sort of thing, and all sorts of reasons is that there's also its relationship to the built structures around it. It was part of a little grouping.
Right.
Three, similarly important.
It retained its original form and massing. Much of the decoration was intact, and it contributed significantly to the streetscape. And so for all those reasons and those noted by Mr. Chagnon, I believe this house was historically significant.
Okay, in that case, we need a motion.
I move that we find the house at 382 Broadway historically significant, on the grounds that have been stated.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Mr. Coughlin. All in favor of the motion of Mr. Shagnon's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do the roll call. Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Chagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. And we need to adopt findings, which we can sort of pick up on what we've already said. It's the previous, we're talking about it in the past tense, but the structure that was there retained a great deal of its architectural integrity, form, massing, detailing. It was a good reflection of its style, of its time period. Because of its relevance, relation to the streetscape, the buildings on either side of it, reflecting time period of Broadway when it was once a kind of a lined with mansions like that. I wouldn't quite call it a mansion, but that sort of thing. And has been brought up its association within a family that was, I don't know if we want to go there with this one, but they had some importance locally. They were.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the Boston and Maine Railroad pretty clearly had an important impact on the city's development, while Daniel Sanborn was the general superintendent and was living at and died in this house.
Yeah.
You know, he may not be incredibly notable, but I think the broader development and social history of the city certainly factors in.
All right. Any other contributions to the findings? If not, we could use a motion to adopt them.
I move that we vote to adopt the findings as just outlined.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do the roll call. Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So, that's this routine. We'll come back next month. We'll have a public hearing on the next status, preferably preserved, and at that point, we can show what you have in mind. And, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Ines, I will reach out through your citizen serve application with next steps.
Okay.
Okay, so the next case on our agenda is HP 24-000002. Address is 8 Montrose Court. The applicant is Thoughtcraft Architects LLC, Mark Wilson. The owner is Rufus Roscoe LLC. The applicant seeks to demolish a building that is at least 75 years of age. Is the applicant here tonight?
My apologies, Mr. Chairman, I was muted. Mark Wilson is the applicant and you are being promoted to a panelist. It will kick you out momentarily, but you will be readmitted as panelist.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Could you promote Chris Johns? He's also he's architect at Thoughtcraft Architects as well. And if David Bernice is also here, he is the owner and our client.
Mr. Wilson, what was the last name, the owner?
David Bernice. BMISS.
I do not see him in the attendees list. Ah, there he is.
Okay.
Okay, I see him. All right.
Great.
Okay, we're all here.
Yes.
Guys, give us a quick rundown of what you're doing. Obviously, we know you're going to proposing demolition.
Yeah, so we are proposing demolition of 8 Montrose Court. And David, who's on here, is the owner. I'm not sure, he can speak to the length of their ownership, but I know that there's been some settling to the property due to a lot of the work that was done along the Green Line extension. So this house, this property abuts the railroad tracks, and it is I believe it's just a single residence at the moment, and they are looking to demolish the building to add a 2-family home on the parcel.
I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know how much I can really add. We've owned it for, I believe, I don't know, the last few years, kind of all blend together, but I think about 6-7 years now. And as Chris said, we've repaired the foundation a few times, multiple instances of settling in the house. So it's it's not in the best condition to start with, but we are looking to build a 2 unit.
Okay. Thank you. If you're all set, we'll move to public comments. If there's anything else you want to say, or are you good to go?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Any members of the public who'd like to speak, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Yes, any members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand for a 2-minute public comment period. Ron Cavallo, you have been unmuted. You will need to unmute yourself to speak.
Ron Cavallo, 70 Victoria Street. In my opinion, this building has absolutely zero architectural merit, and it's only a benefit to the city to lose it and replace it with something better. I realize the city likes to control everything they can control, but I'd like to see the homeowner have the freedom and liberty to build what he would like. And I would like to see this building gone for a multitude of reasons, but I want to make it crystal clear. I believe it has absolutely no architectural merit. You can talk about fenestration and all the other stuff. This is not a pretty house. This is not a loss to the city of any kind. The city needs new structures. The city wants to be net zero. I think the goals are ridiculous and unrealistic, but that's the goal. The new energy code is very strict. This building, if it gets replaced by an energy efficient building that is going to make the homeowner happier and will be a benefit to the city. One has to look at what would be lost here. Nothing is lost. That's all I need to say.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand and you will be unmuted. Mr. Chairman, I do not see any other members of the public with their hands raised. You may close the public comment.
Okay, I'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. Kick it out to the commission who has thoughts they want to start off with.
I think typically when we see these little worker cottages, which is basically and to a large extent what this is. I mean, it's a slightly larger one maybe than some of those, but not by a lot. They're in a group and they're part of a pattern. And I don't know that I see that here. No, it's unless I'm missing something in the context. I mean, it's the other building across the street has been either started out very different or has been altered. They're the only two there that are sort of tucked at the back of Montrose Court behind the rest of Montrose. You know, I guess it's got a little bit in common with the houses on, what is that? Is that Jerome Court, the one at the end of that? But even there, there's a little bit of commonality. It's that here were the little back edge parcels that they could tuck a few more homes into. It doesn't jump out at me. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing, and I'd be happy to hear my fellow commissioners' thoughts on it.
I agree. I think for the most part, it seems like a project, a good use of the space, the proposal. I'd also like to note that the current materials on the main structure, none of them are original. So you have vinyl clapboard siding, vinyl trim, things like vinyl aluminum windows, asphalt shingle roof. So these are all things we aren't looking at an original. While some of the massing looks like it's original, it doesn't look like that the materials are.
Thank you. The date on this, it doesn't show up on the 1872 map, I think. So it would be a little late to be one of the classic worker house type things. Those tend to be a couple decades earlier.
True.
And they tend not to be full. Well, it's not quite a second two-story, but it's close to it. But there are exceptions. And I guess in some blabbing here. I also agree. It's not really, it doesn't carry the streetscape. It's not on the main street. It's sort of all tucked away by itself. It retains its original form, massing, but doesn't have much left in terms of the siding and stuff like that. But the form, if it were part of a greater entity around it, I would be more attached to that. But as it is, I don't see a lot of significance. Anybody else have any thoughts?
So I will share, while it is tucked down the, little dead end street, because of its proximity, or the fact that it abuts the commuter rail line and the community path, and is so near the bridge on Sycamore that goes over the railroad, it is visible from there. It's visible from Richardson across the way, but the view from the Sycamore Bridge is little gable house, little gable house, little gable house. And it's this whole series of little gable houses. And so it does contribute in terms of its size and the gable roof to that overall look and feel of that neighborhood as viewed from the bridge. And so it's not the same kind of streetscape that we typically think of, but it is, it would look very strange if something quite modern was put there or something else. So I think, from that perspective, it is contributing to the streetscape, and just the scale and massing of it is, original. And while it doesn't retain its original envelope materials, and clearly some of the fenestration has been changed and whatnot, I do think it has some importance to the overall look and feel of that side of the train tracks, that, run of things along the community path.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Even of the row of little gable cottages, which is a good way of putting it. I mean, it's little gable houses. It other than being in the middle of the line, it feels like it contributes the least to that feeling of the four of them there, or five if you count the one a little bit up Jerome. I don't know.
I mean, the plan's not to put a 10-unit building in either, though, correct? It's just a two family. So
Correct.
maybe we
True.
do you have a plan for what that do you have a design for that yet? Or is
We
that
do.
not-
It's a two-family, all as of right, no variances project.
Although, with respect to Mr. Kaufman, we're not supposed to be thinking about what would replace it at this stage.
Yeah, I was just asking the question.
Yeah, no, fair. Yeah.
But I see Vice Chair Kelly's point on that. I don't know how I would weigh that. Yes, I'm looking at a view across the tracks. You wouldn't call it the streetscape, the trackscape.
The railscape.
The railscape.
Community pathscape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is a little bit of an anomaly, not entirely, just in the height of its eaves and things. I don't know personally whether or not that triggers enough of a feeling of significance for me. We might just have to kind of let this one go and see who feels how. How about you, Mr. Falvey? Have any thoughts on this?
Probably similar to your thoughts, Chair Parks. I wasn't leaning towards significance, and I think Vice Chair Kelly makes some very good arguments just about clustering of the houses there. I mean, so if anything, I may say, yeah, sure, significant. I don't think I'd support preferably preserved though. So I do think that there's something to be said about the view from the bike path and the community path, and these clustering and grouping of houses, I think, are important, meaningful to the historic nature of the city, certain neighborhoods and such. I think that, just not sure how I rest on that one yet, but I definitely think it's a very important observation.
Should we put it to a vote and see how folks come down?
Yeah, I think ultimately that's all.
I move that we vote to find the property historically significant. A yes vote means yes, it is historically significant. A no vote means it is not.
Thank you.
I will second the motion.
Motion by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
No. We'll do a roll call. People have been pushed off my screen, so I have to do Mr. Shagnon.
No.
Mr. Falvey.
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Coughlin.
No.
And I'll vote no also.
And I vote yes.
And you vote yes. Oh, that's right. See, I disappeared. Where are you? Gone away. Scroll back over. There you are. Okay, so we have I think the noes have it, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
So 2 in favor, 3 not in favor.
Okay. Close, got a squeaker, guys, but we need findings for this. Then I guess it's on one of us, yes or no people to adopt findings. We decided it didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't have any association with any major events or architects or builders of the time. And just given the fact that a lot of the architectural details are not original, I don't think it has architectural significance either.
And I guess for me, while I acknowledge the points raised by Vice Chair Kelly, I don't think that the level of significance in its setting was enough for me to think of it as significant. So I think it just had insufficient level of that. Okay.
Yep. I move that we adopt the findings as stated by Mr. Coughlin.
Okay, is there a second?
Can I second my own findings?
Yes, I think.
It's not your motion.
I second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion by Mr. Shagnon, seconded by Mr. Coughlin, say yes.
Yes.
Aye. Yes, and opposed?
I'll abstain.
Abstaining, okay. How about you, Mr. Falvey?
I'll abstain along with
Okay,
Vice Chair Kelly. How's that?
all right. Okay,
So good luck with your project.
Do we officially need to roll call that, Mr. Park?
oh, I missed that,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Mr. Falvey, I knew I was missing something. Mr. Falvey,
Abstain.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Abstain.
Mr. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, thank you, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I hope you'll end up with a gable roof, even though we can't make you
That'd
have
be
a gable roof, but it would be great.
Yeah, Gable.
Get it fitting in. That'd be nice.
It'll be in character. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Good
very
luck.
much. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and the last case we have tonight that is not being continued is, oh wait, no.
No.
Right, do we need to, let's vote on 9 Olive Ave just to continue that. I think we need a vote, don't we?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so HP 23-000071 9 Olive Avenue. Applicant Robert DePiero. Owner Robert DePiero. Applicant proposes to demolish 50% or more of a structure that is at least 75 years old. This applicant has requested to, well, the item is to be continued till the next meeting. The proposal,
I move that we vote to continue the case to the next meeting.
okay,
Second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Do the roll call, Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Coughlin,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, that leaves us with one case left, which is a determination of preferably preserved status. It is HP 23-000064. Address is 326 Lowell Street. Applicant is Alpha Excavation Inc. The owner is 326 through 328 Lowell Street LLC. The applicant seeks to demolish a building that is at least 75 years of age. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Jared Robichaud, you are being promoted to a panelist. And Kleber Fejo, you were also being promoted to panelist.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you? So we know it's a demolition. Just give us a quick 1 minute rundown or whatever minute you need for your project, where it is.
The project that's really in bad condition. Do me to try save what's over there right now. That's why the media over there last week, everyone can see. Do me really do me a risk to put a people to work inside the building, and provides more liability to people to work in over there. I don't want to be put at everyone's bad position to be there inside the building, start do all the renovation the way try to do one, and you see what the builder that say historical. I'm not get yet. I'm here to provide, see if we can make something work together, build a nice, something nice over there, historical look. Give me as option for everyone to decide how I can do over there, make something beautiful to the city. I think that's way best. You can try save what's nothing over there to me.
Thank you. Anything else, or we'll move to public comment if you don't have anything else to add?
Not really. I'm trying to do the best you can for the city. One thing that's over there that's too dangerous to put people inside. Last week I've done a speed walk over there. You see, I have a spec over there. That's people for the historic commission over there. Have the engineer over there. Everyone see how the building inside. That's not really well saved to keep the building.
Okay. Thank you. In this case, then let's move to public comment. Any members of the public want to speak, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Any members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand for a 2-minute public comment period. Mr. Chairman, I do not see any members of the public with their hands raised. You may close the public comment.
Okay, I'll close the public comment. Just to give you the the backup, I was out at the site last week. There was a request from the building inspector because he's doing a field visit upon request, and met with the applicant and his engineer. Wendy and I were out there. And I did, the interior of the building is a mess. It would have to be mostly reframed on the inside. It's everything's possible. It's just a question of, you know, expense and effort. So I'm not gonna, I mean, it's up to you all to make decisions and decide what to go forward, but that was my report. There's it's a structure that's been, it's actually a collection of, I think, 3 different additions that have been kind of added on top of each other over the years. And there's failing joists, there's been some fire damage, and, you know, nothing that a committed owner couldn't fix, but it's a question of what would be left there, and whether there are other alternatives that involve keeping the structure or whatever that could be discussed. If anyone had questions for me about that, feel free to wing them at me, but that was my first observation. I think when we looked at this last time, it was notable because the structure was it's very old. It's like 1850s, I think we decided.
I think so.
And that's more about the massing. It's been gutted and stripped of all its exterior detailing. So at this point, what's left is the mass of it. And if, okay, I'll shut up for a minute. What do you all think?
Does it, the demolition that we're seeing on the exterior represents the way it looks right now? I mean, it's down to its sheathing, essentially. I mean, all the siding's been taken off.
That's what I saw, just the
Yeah, okay.
sheathing and open. It'd been sort of sitting neglected for like 6 months, I think.
Mhm.
That was the subject. So I think one of the things that Kleber, that's your name, that Mr.
Yes, Kleber. Yes.
You've indicated a willingness or an interest in retaining the historic, referencing what's there still, but your desire is to rebuild it. Is that?
My plan to demolish the house and rebuild a new house with historical look. That's why I think about to make a nice plan with historical look and submit to you guys and look at if you have some option to make something beautiful over there. I really appreciate if you guys help me to do something beautiful, historical look. That's what I think about it to do there.
Okay. Because the pattern for that, I mean, just to give you the breakdown, we're going to vote tonight on whether or not this building is properly preserved. If we vote no, then that's that. If we vote yes, it begins a conversation that can take anywhere from just a month or 2 to 18 months. So in that, that's kind of your desire to work that direction. It could become more of a collaborative process if we end up voting that way. It's not just that we sit for 18 months and then you're on the way. So it's sort of like a path towards doing what I'm hearing you want to do anyway.
I'm hearing that he wants to tear the house down and build something new.
Yes.
Okay.
But with some direction, historic reference to the structure. I don't know what that means at this point.
The building I have a 3 addition all in the back.
And Jesus was a sick.
I lost you.
Well, can you hear me?
Hello? Oh, we lost you. You said something about an addition, then we lost you.
Yeah. The building I have the same thing you say. I have a 3, I think 2 or 3 addition in the back. That's not really prop the way someone building before. And I have all the fire damage to come to the house in the left side. And I think for the right side, the house will be too close to try save the house with there, to be too close to the other house. That's why I think about it's better to do something new over there to come. Because all around over there, all triple deck around over there with the flat roof. And I'm open to do something beautiful, historic over there. Come up to the city.
What do y'all think?
I mean, several of the other houses on that side of the street are gabled ends, not the one right to the right of it when you're looking at it. You know, I'm not sure if you could recreate something that would, I mean, we're trying to have them recreate something that looks like the existing place or something that would fit in with the streetscape. I guess that's the question. When you say that it would have a new design that would reference the historical, does that mean the existing historical? Or does that mean just kind of like the neighborhood?
Really existing historic, have no design in the house. Nothing. That's a square box, and I have 2 additions in the back. That's whatever you do over there for maintain. That's a big square box. Do you know what I mean? That's why I think about it. It's no design, historical, nothing. That's why I think about it. Make something look more historical, looks more nice. Do you know what I mean? That's except to have another square box only.
Yeah, I guess for Chair Parks, I guess that's my question for you. Is it within our purview to say, you could preferably not preserved, but a new structure would look like X? Is that something that, that's not typically something that we would
No, we don't.
stipulate, is it?
We do have an ability in the recent years to declare something not properly preserved, but with conditions. But I don't think that those conditions could be a design to be determined. It's like too open-ended. Usually it's a little bit more exact, like reconstruct this building in kind and then do something else to it. Yeah.
Right. So I guess the question before the commission is whether or not we think the current design is worth recreating in a new structure, in a newly built building.
Or hypothetically renovating this one, but it sounds like they would not go that route. Given the opportunity, they'd wait it out, presumably.
Yeah, I don't think so. Can redesign for over there because of the square box anyway. To me, this house for a long time already with the architect and whatever. What do you do over there? Be square box because the house is too wide and too long.
Yeah,
I think what makes the place significant was the orientation to the street is one thing. So it's like a gable side to the street, which is not so common. And that's something that happened a lot earlier in some of the more farmhouse type things. They would do that when they had more space rather than end gable. So it's really the mass. I don't think even before it was stripped that it had a whole lot it had a porch in front, but it was never like a Victorian grand thing. It's more like a important just because of its age and its orientation to the street and its general massing. That was it. How about you, Vice Chair Kelly? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just as you pointed out, the pieces that were compelling about it in terms of its historic significance was that it was one of the first properties to be built on Lowell Street, and its orientation with the side gables, that it has, it's sort of a 5-bay thing with the 2 windows on either side of the center door. It's not a style that we see very often, but it's very indicative of the era in which it was built, as is the pitch of the gable roof with the little returns. And so those are the pieces that I find most interesting and compelling. Putting up a 3-story like new mansard to look historic-y, something like from Disney World doesn't mean that doesn't do much for anybody. So I think if we were wanting it to retain some of its integrity, some of the reason that it was found to be historically significant, then I would hope that it would be retaining the pitch of the roof and the side gables and all of that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's whether that can be done with the current structure seems. Did we get a response from inspectional services as to what the inspector thought? I know that we have the engineers, the structural engineers letter suggesting that it's not, you know, anything to be salvaged, but do we know what ISD said?
Has Ms. Chekwich, has there been any follow-up communications from them since our meeting?
No, I'm not. I'm doing it. He's doing it. I don't have any communication yet after the meeting last week. Wait for this meeting.
How about you, Wendy? Oh, there you are.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I have not received further communication from ISD staff. Stephen Carey is the staff planner for this item though, so he
Right,
would
yeah.
know better than me.
I also have not received anything further from ISD.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and just the vibe from talking to him at the site, his preference seemed to be to come to an agreement about what might happen with the structure. It was not tear this thing down immediately. It was, he saw what the issues were, why, you know, there's some structural stuff that needs to be addressed, a lot of it in some cases. And he said, well, the usual thing would be for the commission to kind of work it out with the owner and come to an agreement.
Okay, so but he didn't run away from the building saying, oh my God, this needs to be condemned and taken
No,
down next
not at
week.
all.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If I had a client who wanted to keep that structure, we'd find a way to make it work. It's just it would need to be reframed largely inside because it was really pretty wonky what was going on there. But it's doable. It's always a question of just, you know, that's why we're determining preferably preserved. Is it worth the work? What's the value? Is it better that we preserve it or not?
And we don't feel like we could indicate something like not preferably preserved with the condition that the owner work with staff to develop a plan that incorporates some of the important architectural elements that were, you know, found it to be historically significant, the side gables, the 5 bay, you know.
I don't think we've done that before, to that level, unless I'm wrong.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I would hesitate to do a not perfectly preserved with that much of an open-ended set of conditions. We have done things that have had to do with, you know, having staff identify pieces for reuse and things like that, but that's a little bit more tangible for a condition. So I would be hesitant to put to leave that much open to staff determination in a condition.
Okay.
So then that would leave us, just to clarify for the applicant, if we did vote preferably preserved with the very open opportunity and invitation to discuss with staff, come back to some. Do we end up doing subcommittees at all to review memorandums of agreements anymore, or have we stopped doing that?
No.
Meeting laws and all, yeah. To work with staff then on a proposal to put back in front of us and discuss to come to a memorandum of agreement, right? Is that right? The process to hopefully not make you wait the full 18 months. Obviously.
Yeah, it's not, to me, something that this way or the highway kind of thing. I think it would just, if we don't do that, then it kind of nips any conversation in the bud. There wouldn't be any incentive to do anything that way. And in a situation like this where the building is sort of an anomaly, well, it doesn't sound good, but it's unlike the buildings around it because of its age. if the ultimate project is not reproducing more or less that which makes it significant, then you begin to wonder why, what's the point? Other than just creating something that belongs to the more modern, to the more contemporary, yet older stuff around it. So, yeah. So if I voted for preferably preserved, I would say that's probably just going to be us working with the applicant as they move towards their final design, and it'll be what it is, kind of.
Yeah.
So in that event, I propose that we vote to find the property preferably preserved.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Kelly.
I
There a
will second that.
Seconded by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor of Vice Chair Kelly's motion?
Aye.
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 Opposed? We'll do the roll call. Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Mr. Coughlin,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly.
Yes.
I'm missing somebody.
You're missing me.
Missing
I'll
Mr.
vote yes.
Shagnon. You got zoomed out of my screen.
There you
And I'll
go.
vote yes.
Switch to gallery mode, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm too old to understand this.
I'll show you sometime.
Gallery, there it goes. Oh, look at all you. Okay. And then I voted yes, and so we need findings. And I would probably start off with the age of the building as being an early for the structure and its unusual orientation to the street. And massing retains its original massing. That's about it. Although it's an adulterated massing because the backside of the building has been added onto in a way that you wouldn't notice it so much.
Yeah.
But it retains its original sort of 5-bay facade with the center entrance, which is also not typical for Somerville, but is typical for farm style houses of that era.
Yeah. Okay. I don't believe there are any important associations with people, notable people. I don't remember reading those. Okay. We want to vote on those?
I move that we vote to adopt those findings.
I will second that.
Motion by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Falvey?
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Coughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So folks, I think you understand, we're just move forward with your things, meet with staff. We'd love to see what you have in mind when it comes to historic. I think staff has an idea of what we're talking about. Do you have any questions for us?
Say that's now it's a vote that's be preferred preserved. That's why you guys.
And so what? You'll work on a plan as you develop your replacement idea. So I mean, that's the direction you're trying to go. With staff, and eventually what we do is come up with a memorandum of agreement where we come to a consensus like this is a good solution, and we vote, and then you go forward with that.
All right.
Fair deal. Thanks, guys.
Mr. Fayho and Mr. Robichaud, your staff planner will reach out to you tomorrow with next steps.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Good
Thank
luck
you.
with the project.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so that is all of our cases. We have some minutes to go over. February 6th and February 20th.
All right.
Did anybody have any thoughts on or comments on this?
Fine.
I did not.
No.
I didn't. They looked very nice. Of course, I don't have Dick Bauer's eye for spotting everything.
No one does.
So you need.
I accidentally closed them, so I'm reopening.
Does anybody need a minute to look over, or if you want to move to a vote?
What?
I think we can move to a vote.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I did have one question, actually. Colin Kersey is still listed on the list of
Members.
committee commissioners. Is that, has he not officially resigned, or when does that get updated?
Mr. Chairman, through you, that would be an oversight on my part. I forgot. That's not something I've noticed on the minutes, admittedly. But also we did not communicate that with our minute taker. So that would be my fault.
Okay.
Kristen, I will email you tomorrow, but Colin did resign. So going forward, if you can remove his name. Yeah. So sorry.
Okay.
And so otherwise, we just need to, I move that we vote to approve the February meeting minutes.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Falvey to approve the minutes. Wait, which minutes? Both? Can we do
I
them
said
both?
February, meaning they were both from February. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know why we couldn't do them both in this one fell swoop. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
I vote yes. CPC update. The CPC is currently trying to figure out ways of basically do outreach to the community to get a more diverse set of people who come to the CPC for money. We see a lot of repeat people coming, big, huge projects that have phases that understandably need to break them up into smaller chunks. So I just want to cast a wider net. Things like tabling events at the farmers market, the armory, and setting up the library and things. So if any of you ever have any ideas on ways to reach people who wouldn't normally be aware that the CPA exists or that it has funding available for historic preservation, feel free to send them along to the CPC. I think our staff, his name I'm just forgetting because I'm wiped out. Staff is very good at that, responding. Any questions on CPC stuff, CPA stuff? Okay.
Is that opened up for this year yet?
It,
I don't think it has, right?
I don't think that the applications are officially being asked for yet.
Yeah. I believe they're typically like the process starts in late summer. Is that right?
Yeah.
You might have to apply earlier than that, and then I don't.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I
There's
don't
a
know.
pre-application. I'm trying to remember. There was one point at which I got brought into a possible open space related CPA project for my kid's school that then didn't go anywhere because the end result was that the PTA pulled the application. We got all the preliminary stuff done, and then the city's DPW said, "Oh, we'll take care of that," and did it. So
we do have a public hearing at the end of this month to basically ask this question to the public. So if anybody wants to attend that.
Well, they also just sent around a survey.
yeah, I was gonna say they've been email blasting.
Yeah.
Roberta.
Yeah.
is the
Roberta,
staff.
yeah, right. I was like, why the heck can't I remember her name? This is really embarrassing. She's great. She's a great staff person. And the trick, with historic preservation, we're in kind of a weird spot where when they survey the city about what they care about the most among the three categories that the CPA covers, the affordable housing, open space, and preservation, we pull dead last, which is really kind of nice showing up to meetings knowing you're like the least favorite one. But oddly, our projects get the most noticeability. Like we get a lot of interest in what we're doing and stuff like that. People notice the project. So it's a little bit of a disconnect there between how much they want to fund us with and versus how much we get. And also historic preservation's not quite so widely understood, or it's harder to kind of reach people to say, hey, if you live in an old house, maybe you could get for money for this, or other organizations, nonprofits that happen to own buildings that are working on shoestring budgets and might need work for windows or whatever money. So that's the challenge. And we'll see what comes at our next meeting. Anything else?
I did notice on the website's outdated as well. On the somervillemass.gov under Historic Preservation Commission, it's outdated. If that matters.
Outdated.
In what area? Any specific area?
The alternate, like the alternates on here, it has Adam
the-
Wiley and Anthony Grisetto.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
the list of commissioners.
The list of commissioners.
Got it.
Sorry,
Okay.
yeah.
Ancient.
To kind of follow up on the minutes, if there was somebody that,
Mr. Coughlin, can you email me that website tomorrow? Or
yeah,
tonight, just email it to me so I can look into that.
email you the web, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that
I'll
exact
just send you-
webpage.
I'll send you a link to the page, yeah,
Perfect, thank you.
sure. I mean, does that work? It's in the chat, maybe, does that work? Anyway.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. That's it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're not even on there.
I'm not. That's okay. I mean, I'm not overly concerned,
No,
but
no.
If it has Adam on there, that's been like 3 or 4 years. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
disappeared.
Wow, am I our only alternate at the moment? I believe I am.
well, I think I'm technically an alternate.
You might be, if you're in as historic district resident rather than citizen member.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm not alone. Okay.
Before we check out, there was an open-ended thing a last meeting or two ago about wanting to have a conversation with staff about ways to push forward historic districts, things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Any movement on that?
When you say push forward historic districts, can
Well,
you just,
we have there are people who've been trying to get their districts created. I can think of one in particular over by Union Square. And it just takes a lot of time. And I think we were going to have a discussion with ways we could help push things along so that historic districts that potentially could be there can become that way. And also Union Square, there's no historic district there. And that's been about 10 years or so since we've started that. So, and I understand this, the city resources are scarce. So, I don't know, just sort of brainstorming to see if there's anything we can do to get that hopping along, nudge people in the city or volunteer or whatever.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I believe this was a fault of mine. I believe I was supposed to put as a discussion item for this meeting and I forgot.
Okay.
So that we could formally talk about it on the agenda. I will remember to do that for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will draft the agenda right after this meeting.
Sure. Okay. Anything else before we adjourn?
I move that we vote to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, all in favor of Vice Chair Kelly's motion?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll do Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Coghlan,
Yes.
Mr. Shogden,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Well, the technical motion was that we vote to adjourn. Do we have to then, no. Semantics. The two-part. Like Hotel
Make a
California.
motion to make a motion.
Yeah.
Like a Monty Python skit here, right?
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. It's a little bit longer than usual, but I think we got through everything.
It's like the old days.
Yeah, I guess it's the flip side of last month's
Yeah.
2-minute meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Good
We'll see
night.
you. Have a
Good night, y'all.
Bye all.
Thank you, everyone.